What you gonna do? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? What you gonna do?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Over the Ridge, episode number 21. 21. Amazing. Amazing. Welcome, everybody. I'm seeing everybody tapping in here. Ciao from Puglia. Gwendolina, hello. Angelique is in the house. From Amsterdam, of course. Trish. Patrizia, ciao from Calabria. Wonderful, wonderful. Tina Garrett. Oh, good. Good. Happy Sunday, everybody. Trish, yes, I agree. Sunday evening here and Sunday afternoon for a lot of people on the East Coast and noontime in a hot California, apparently. Kiara, hello. Wonderful. Jamie, good to be here. Let me go over and look at Instagram here. Everybody's logging in. Kenny, good. Wonderful. We have a very special show today. We are having a very dear friend. He's an artist. He's a musician. He is a writer. Many things. He and his wife travel around and give their. I'll let them tell what they do. It'll be better out of Joel's mouth. Joe Berlinger and his wife Allison are going to join us. So let's just bring them in. And here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello,
Ron Moss.
Hi.
Joel and Allison, wonderful to have you here.
It's wonderful to be back on the Over the Ridge podcast.
You guys are travelers too, just like we are. You've spent a fair amount of time in Italy as well. So Joel, tell what you do when you travel. You and Allison travel.
We were travel writers for 15 years.
And I was the photographer.
Allison was the photographer. I was the writer. And we wrote for the Washington Times and we wrote for a number of other publications. And COVID pretty much screwed up a lot of the travel industry and a lot of travel writing careers. So now we just travel for the fun of it. We just got back from 3.5 weeks in Sicily and Capri and Positano. We went to Taormina and Syracuse and Ragusa, which was amazing, and Agrigento, which is like the world's greatest ruins on the planet, even better, I think, than the Pantheon. Cefalù, which was awesome. It's like where Sicily goes, where the hoity-toity of Sicily goes to vacation on Sicily, a gorgeous little town. And Palermo, which was lots of fun. And then we flew into Capri for 3 days and stayed at Villa Brunella.
And now I have to tell you, when we were there before, we were walking down. We weren't staying at this place. We were walking down the street, and all of a sudden I looked over, and they have a restaurant. And I saw this view, and I had to go in. And I said, Joel, can we eat here? I want to see this view. Well, now, years later, we actually stayed there and had that view every day from our apartment there.
In 2017, we did 2 weeks on the Amalfi Coast and did a bunch of articles. And this one little hotel, Hotel Villa Brunella, has the most beautiful view at the end of Via Trigera. And so we had lunch there, and we dreamed about it for 7 years. So we went back and we got this incredible junior suite, and we basically didn't leave the hotel for 3 days,
Just that and look at that too.
which was amazing. Well, they have a fabulous restaurant and a wonderful. It's right next. It's overlooking the Farallon Rocks, and it's one of the most gorgeous views in. In fact, we were supposed to have lunch up in Anacapri, and Allison says, "Why are we leaving?" So then we went to Positano for 3 days and stayed at Buca di Bacco, which is our favorite hotel there. It's the hotel where Steinbeck stayed and Hemingway used to stay and Princess Grace used to come. And the owner, Stefano, has been there. Salvatore Rispoli. They've owned the place since the 20s, and it was stunningly gorgeous. So we were there 3 days there and then went 3 days to Rome. Allison just celebrated her 79th birthday. So we went up to Northern California to Mendocino for 3 days and 4 days in a beautiful little town called Jenner, which is right on the Russian River, right at the ocean. And at that point, the Russian River is tidal. It's really gorgeous. But we love Italy. We never get tired of Italy. In fact, we're going back this October to 4 days in Venice and 3 days in Florence. And then we're going to spend 6 days wandering around the Chianti countryside and 3 days in Montalcino and 4 days in Siena. We have an apartment in Siena that has the most stunning view overlooking the Campo. It's called Terrazza sul Campo. Don't tell anyone because we want to keep it as a secret hotel spot. But
You just did.
It's the most amazing apartment with the most incredible view of the Campo and ridiculously cheap. So we're there for 4 days, and we'll come back to Florence for 2 days and come home. But we try to take 2 trips a year, 3 weeks. And
we figure, why not? We're at that age
Absolutely.
where we might as well travel, and
Exactly.
we love it so much.
Well, I want to do something, just interject based on something you just said. So this is an original song for Allison.
Oh, thank you.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, Allison. Happy birthday to you. Yeah.
Aw,
Thank you, Ron.
Happy birthday, sweetheart.
79 years young. We've been together for 35 years. We just celebrated our 29th wedding anniversary. And Allison she says this is the last year she'll be counting her birthdays. But I promised her
They'll happen, but I don't know.
we got married just before her 50th birthday, and I promised her to have her in Paris on her 50th birthday, and I promised to have her in Paris next year for her 80th. And we're going to do from Paris to the south of France for 3.5 weeks. Celebrate.
You guys are just too cute. Too
We
cute.
love it. We love it. But you have an amazing life in Puglia.
We're enjoying being here in Puglia so much. We have our little Trulli. It's called a Trulli for people who have never seen that type of little structure. It's kind of like a little hobbit house built totally out of stones. Yeah,
You
it's like a
have
little-
one of those with little chimney roof thing?
Yeah, the little round roof,
Yes.
round roofs, and the stones are just stacked like that. And it's a traditional house only in Puglia.
Wow.
And there's a section called Aberobello, which is right next to us, very close, 10 minutes away. And the whole neighborhood is like that. A lot of shops and where people live, and they're all built like this. I mean, the stone walls are 3-4 feet thick, and
Wow.
it looks like a backdrop I've got here, but that's actually just my room in my little studio here. But it's wonderful. It's really
That's
wonderful, and it's a kind of warmer days here, but inside the stone house it stays cooler, and most people in Puglia live outside. They eat outside and cook and eat and do everything outside during the summer.
Wow.
But we're loving it. We're loving
That's
Oh,
awesome.
that's great.
That is
Puglia is kind of like the other parts of Italy only 50 years ago. It's still kind of family primitive and no big cities necessarily around
I
us
guess
right here.
Bari's the biggest city there, isn't it?
Bari would probably be the closest city, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's the one part of Italy we haven't seen. We haven't seen that, and we haven't been to Turin. Of course, that's a little bit too close to Austria, but
Is that a problem?
no, not really. When we were in we were at this beautiful hotel with this old count who had leased it out, Relay La Suvera in the
Oh,
Chianti
yeah.
region,
That was
and
beautiful.
and he kept referring to everyone in northern Italy as the Austrians,
There we go.
which I always found wildly amusing. But
So Joel, you're also a musician, but before we get into your music stuff, you are kind of a historian of music or just a collector of trivia music?
well, you can't live from the 70s or from the 60s onward without loving music and being into it. But yeah, Allison and I have been following. I don't know if you're into the Dead at all, but we've been following the Dead and Company shows at the Sphere in Vegas. And rather than go, thanks to YouTube,
We
every
watch it.
every night some enterprising deadheads are putting up clips from the show, and many times there are better views of the band, particularly John Mayer, than you would get if you were actually at the arena. So we've been following the 18 Dead and Company shows at the Sphere. The good side is you get to see all the John Mayer songs and all the great Jerry Garcia licks, and the other good side is if it's a Bobby song that you don't much Bobby Weir, if you have a Bobby song that you don't much care for, you can just skip it. But
Now, what is this? Is this like a Grateful Dead cover sort of thing?
it's the descendants of the Grateful Dead. The only guys from the original band is Bob
Bobby.
Weir and Mickey Hart on drums, but you've got John Mayer on guitar who plays the Jerry part, Jeff Trementi on bass, and I can't remember the name of the keyboard player. But they are carrying on the legacy of the Grateful Dead, and
And how many shows are they doing?
they're
in
doing,
Vegas?
I think,
Like a
18
lot.
or 24 shows at the Sphere, and they've got this massive light show, which has been phenomenal. And you can find it all over YouTube. One of the best versions of Brown Eyed Women, fabulous versions of China Cat, Sunflower, Know Your Rider. If you're a Deadhead into that, I probably saw
He
the Dead.
obviously is a deadhead.
I probably saw the Dead 110 times while they were still the Grateful Dead. And I took Allison early in our relationship to the worst Grateful Dead show ever at the Coliseum. And I was like, oh my God,
But it was my first.
it was
ever.
her first. So she got about it. But then I took her to a John Mayer show with Dead and Company about 7 years ago, and she finally got it.
Oh, now I get it.
John's amazing. They play phenomenally. But the history of music in our country is the history of our culture. You know, I was 7 and in the hospital after being hit by a car in Japan, and in the spring of 1964. And Armed Forces Radio, which was the only English channel in Japan at the time, played nothing but Beatles songs. So by the time I had turned 8, I knew the lyrics to every Beatles song on the planet at the time. But and then was on the road for 3 years before I crashed and burned out here in LA and met Allison, and then had a blues band for many, many years called the Loose Cannons. And I'm actually making my return to the stage tonight at the Whiskey with a Doors tribute band from DC that's making their first trek out here to LA. They're playing the Whiskey tonight. I'm going to sit in on Roadhouse Blues on the harmonica. And then they're playing the Troubadour on Wednesday,
Which is my birthday.
the
party.
26th, and that will be Allison's birthday party. And I will make my debut and my final performance at the Troubadour doing the same thing. Playing. You know, you wait long enough, things come around. So finally, at age 57, I'm finally playing the Troubadour, goddammit. Only 50 years too late.
You know, I got a cute story. Cute to me. I went to the Troubadour many years ago. I was upstairs in the balcony area. I was upstairs by myself. I don't remember who exactly was playing then, or if anybody was actually playing at that moment. I would go there to see either James Taylor or Joni Mitchell.
I was there for James Taylor.
Yeah,
Downtown.
yeah. So I think it might have been just before that show. I got there early, so it was just me, and I was upstairs, and I see over. There's nobody else around. I see on the table one of the candles has started a fire. It has started
No.
something on fire. And I looked
No.
over and went, holy shit. I ran over there and I took something, put it over it, and put it out. That would have been the end of the troubadour. That literally would have been the
Dude.
end because there was nobody else
Wow.
around. And
Thank God you were there.
somebody came up and saw what I was doing. And I went, the place almost just burned down. So they brought me a drink or something,
Oh
But I
my God, dude.
saved the place from burning
You
down.
saved
And
50
another
years
time,
of music history. Elton
that's
John would not
right.
have had a career if you hadn't saved the troubadour that night. You know?
That's
Um,
right. That's right.
speaking of milestones, of course, we know you and Devin from the Mansion for many years, many years. And Allison, of course, knew Devin when she was
Oh,
first a
yeah.
Playmate. Um, and
The
Lorraine
mansion. So
Nicholson.
to explain to a few people that don't know what the mansion is, he's talking about the Playboy Mansion, Hugh Hefner Playboy Mansion. Allison used to work there for many years, and is that where you met Devin originally, or did you meet her before me, or just I can't
Well,
remember
I
if we met.
also work for the photo department, and so I would work on playmates. I'd do their makeup and you know do their wardrobe and all that sort of stuff. And then I got a call one day, and I had to go to the mansion. I didn't know what it was about, and Hef's right hand man was saying, "Oh, we'd like you to work 2 nights a week as a social secretary because we lost the girl that had the job." And I was like, "Okay, well," I said, "the only thing is, I like my job at the studio." "No, no, it's okay. You'll still have that job, but if you want to go in a little later because you'll be probably up late, because Hef in those days would stay up until 2 in the morning, no problem." And it was kind of fun working Tuesdays and Thursdays, and a lot of the girls would come up and see me that knew me from the studio. And
Allison's
Hef
underplaying
loved
it.
it.
She was the social secretary during the greatest years of the Playboy Mansion ever in the late 70s when it truly counted. I mean, we've had wonderful times at the Playboy Mansion, but the 70s was really the time to have been there.
Actually, it
And
wasn't the late 70s, it was mid 70s.
yes, exactly. Even better.
It was
Even-
right after Barbie Benton left.
But so we've
Allison, were you working there? Were you working there when Devin was part of the 85 and 85?
In 85, no. I wasn't working at the mansion anymore, but I was working at the studio off and on. I wasn't getting enough money, so I went freelance, and they would hire me by the day. And then I'd be working for another guy that did commercials and made a lot of money working on commercials.
But Allison's also started her photography business in the early 80s, and that took off. And
yeah, so I had my studio in Hollywood, and I would take pictures of all kinds of people, but mostly people that were in the business of, making movies and all that sort of stuff.
exactly.
Yeah.
And had
So
a, had a
Joel,
wonderful
can you
career. So what I
can
was
you
going to say
give us
was
a little? Oh, wait, go ahead.
Lorraine Nicholson, Jack's daughter, who was raised at the mansion pretty much, especially during her childhood, wrote a wonderful article about growing up at the Playboy Mansion for Vanity Fair, which came out in the Hollywood issue in March. So in addition to my first appearance at the Troubadour on Wednesday, Allison and I finally made Vanity Fair in the Hollywood edition this year because Lorraine, a very wonderful article, wrote an extensive thing about how wonderful it was at the mansion growing up, and a lot of the memories that Allison and I shared with her, because we consider Lorraine like one of our little adopted daughters.
I mean, she was just a little tiny kid.
It is amazing.
Probably like 2.5 years old when we first knew her. And she just would go up because her nanny would come up to the mansion. And so she was there for so many years.
And the article, especially after all the weird negative publicity that's happened to have since his passing, which is pretty much disgusting, with a complete misrepresentation of who he is and what he was. It was nice to see a mainstream major article by someone who actually knew, who really captured the tone and tenor of what the mansion was about and what Hef was like as a person, as we all know. which is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and just on a personal egotistical note, it's nice to finally make Vanity Fair in our late 60s and 70s, and to finally play the Troubadour on Wednesday, which will be fun.
That's very cool. You're going to do the whiskey and the troubadour
Whiskey
in
and the
one
Troubadour
week.
in the same week. I feel like a dinosaur. It's amazing, and it's a Doors tribute band called Strange Souls, and so at the whiskey tonight, it's Strange Souls, and then the headliner is Love, which probably no one remembers, but was
Arthur Lee.
Not Arthur Lee, probably the only surviving member of the first band. But yeah, it's Arthur Lee and Love was the original band, and they were huge. They were like destined for stardom. And the Doors and Arthur Lee and Love and Buffalo Spring, all those bands used to play around. The Doors used to play, of course, the whiskey, and were famous when they broke the whiskey. But the Doors first started across the street at what we called the Central, and what everyone else knew as the Johnny Depp's bar, what they call it.
Oh yeah.
Where the kid died. But before it was the Central, it was called Filthy McNasty's, and that's where the Doors got their start. So, very good band. We've seen tapes of them. I know know some of the people in the band. They're coming out from DC to do this thing, so it'd be kind of cool, sort of a Doors thing, and then Wednesday night at the Troubadour. But yeah, to play the Troubadour and the whiskey in 1 week is great.
I remember Arthur Lee because my sister took me over to where Arthur Lee was living in the Los Feliz area. He was living at the house our friend Sue Wong owns. Sue Wong is a fashion designer extraordinaire from China, and Sue bought this beautiful estate in the Los Feliz area up on the hill, and she refurbished it and made it look 1930s and 40s the way it was supposed to look. And that's where Arthur Lee and the band Love stayed. And that's where Arthur Lee invited Jimi Hendrix to come and stay with him. So Jimmy wound up staying there for a long time. And Sue has a Jimi Hendrix room in honor of Jimmy that she designed for that. Devin and I always stay in that room. And it's absolutely wonderful bit of history and a bit of stuff. When you walk into the house, you feel like you're back in the 30s. Literally, because it was designed with all that stuff, that ornate stuff.
Well, Los Feliz is where when the Hollywood, well before Hollywood went to Beverly Hills, Los Feliz was where all the silent film stars and W.C. Fields and
there, and also Pasadena.
Yeah, exactly.
W.C. Fields lived down the street from where I grew up. He lived across the street from the director, C.B. DeMille. C.B. DeMille had a huge estate down the street from us. And W.C. Fields had the house across the street, and he would stand in front of his house and wait for starlets to come to C.B. DeMille's house. And he'd try to, scam them into his house. He'd do that kind of thing. It was an infamous sort of thing. Exactly.
I love W.C. Fields.
Allison always said W.C. Fields reminded her of her father.
Yeah.
My
father used to sort of talk like that, kind of under his breath, and he was very funny.
Also on the bill, both tonight and Wednesday, is Angel Boris, who's a playmate. You may remember. She's now called Angel Reed because she got married. 2 of her sons are now like teenagers, older teenagers, and so their band is opening, and they have Scotty Page, who's the saxophonist from Pink Floyd, sitting in with them. So it's going to be.
You tell Scotty hello from Ron and Devin.
Of course.
We know Scotty very well. Scotty, we would see over at Sue Wong's, and we've done.
Wow.
We would always
Isn't
play
it a tiny
together.
Little world?
Yes, please tell Scotty hello from us. And I have a quick story, and then I want to hear some harmonica from you.
Okay, fine.
I'm like 14 years old. I'm not even driving yet. Somebody had to drive us to Malibu Lake. Malibu Lake is inland from Malibu, where my friend's father had a little cabin, a little shack. It was a little community around a little lake. And we're rehearsing. I'm rehearsing my 14-year-old band at this my friend's father's house. we see what it's kind of. The road goes a little high around the lake like this, and we see what's called a California Special. California Special was the first Shelby Mustang.
Wow.
And we see it's white coming around there, and it comes around behind us, and the car stops, and I hear the guy yell down, "Hey!" So I run up the hill, and it's Jim Morrison. It's
No.
25-year-old Jim Morrison with his blonde girlfriend. And he goes, "Do you know where this address is?" And I go, "Yeah, it's like 3 houses down." He goes, "What are you guys doing?" I go, "We're rehearsing our band." He goes, "Cool. What kind of music?" And I thought he'd just drive on, forget. He chatted me up for like 12 minutes. "What are you guys doing?" I was dying to go. "Do you want to come and sing with us?" I didn't have the nerve, the wherewithal to just blurt it out. "Do you want to come sing with us?" But he was so interested. And this, I'm talking clear-eyed, 25-year-old, beautiful Jim Morrison, clean shaven, that image that we all have when we first saw the Doors.
Yeah,
Just wonderful.
exactly.
So
From '68. I actually saw the Doors when I was 13 in Hawaii. And they played the HIC. They played for 3.5 hours. It was the Morrison Hotel Tour. And by then he was the heavily bearded and slightly bloated Jim Morrison. But I saw a really interesting interview with Ray Manzarek talking about the Doors film. And he says, "Yeah, I didn't recognize that guy in the movie. I wouldn't like that guy either. I mean, obviously the man had his excesses, but there was a shining period in '68, '69 when the Doors were unconquerable. And it's interesting because I think Scott's gonna sit in with the Doors tribute band on "Touch Me" because it has that fabulous sax solo at the very end.
Awesome.
cool. Hey, can we hear some harmonica?
I will give you a preview of what we'll be doing tonight and tomorrow night. So
Jonesing for some harmonica.
it's just a tiny touch of a little harmonica and vocal on Roadhouse Blues. Keep your eyes on the road, your hands upon the wheel. Keep your eyes on the road, your hands upon the wheel. Yeah, we're going to the Roadhouse, gonna have a good time. At the back of the Roadhouse, they got someone to love. At the back of the Roadhouse, they got someone to love. And that's for the people that like to go down slow. Let it roll, baby, roll. Let it roll, baby, roll. Let it roll, baby, roll. Let it roll. Come on down.
Yeah. Come on.
Well,
Great.
I'll just be
Great.
playing tonight. I won't be singing. They have it. They have it Jim Morrison apparently for this gig. I don't know how that happened.
But you never know. You never know.
You never
Maybe he
know.
doesn't show up. Then you'll have to sing the whole freaking show.
I know the lyrics. I'm ready. I'm set and ready to go.
Joel, I should have come up with a couple of trivia questions for you just to test out. Did you see that thing where the guitarist he plays with his sister? It's just the two of them.
Yeah.
Jack White. Jack White.
Yeah.
Jack White's amazing.
Did you see that thing where Jack White's on camera and the guy goes, "So I hear you can name any Beatles song within 1 second." Like they play you the first note and you can name the Beatles song within 1 second.
That's pretty good. I could
And
probably do it in
he went,
3.
yeah, yeah. So they rattled off over like 15 or 20 songs, and he
Wow.
got every one of them with one note,
Wow.
just
Wow.
one note. It was amazing. So I wanted, God, I should have prepared a couple trivia, sort of really weird.
One of the things Alice and I love on the road, because you don't always have American television, but you always have YouTube. So we have our music with us wherever we go. And YouTube is really quite amazing because you can find any band from any year. For example, I frequently will listen to the Grateful Dead shows that I saw when I was in college. They have William and Mary 1996, William and Mary 1976, excuse me, William and Mary 1978. There's a the Beatles Love thing that they do in Vegas, which Giles Martin did a lot of the remixes on, which was the original producer of the Beatles' son. And they have the acoustic version of While My Guitar Gently Weeps by George, which is just phenomenal.
Nice.
Just all these obscurities. He also remixed Goat's Head Soup, one of my favorite Rolling Stones albums, including songs like Winter and 100 Years Ago. And on the remix compilation, there is the Mick Jagger piano demo for 100 Years Ago, which is a very underappreciated song, underappreciated album, but it's phenomenal. So when
Do you remember
we were just up in Jenner. We didn't have any phone service. We didn't have a TV, but we did have YouTube. So we sat there and listened to our favorite tracks. I'm huge on Little Feat. Little Feat's a great band. There was a bootleg album in the 70s called Electroflycanthropy, which was actually a bootleg of a live show they did on WNEW. And it's one of the great live albums, and especially of Little Feat ever. You probably know their song Willin'. Just gems like that. Pick a band, pick a year. Certain albums, like you can't find
Like
it.
Layla.
Like Layla. Like anytime Allison wants to hear Layla, we just pump it up on YouTube.
I had a little thing with Eric Clapton.
Joel, do you remember a group, an offshoot of the Doors? There's an offshoot of the Doors called the City Lights. Do you remember
I
them
don't.
in Hollywood? Do you ever
don't
hear of
remember,
them?
no.
The City Lights. They were kind of a secondary group. Some of them actually played with the real group, the Doors, but they were an
Wow.
offshoot of them, kind of doing their own thing. And I was curious if you knew the bass. Every once in a while, the Doors would add a bass player. They added a
Really?
bass player at times, and I was wondering if you remember his name.
I don't, because that was one of the crazy things about the Doors is that the bass player was played by Ray Manzarek on the bass line was played on Ray Manzarek on some weird little keyboard that was specifically a bass keyboard with his left hand, and I always thought it was a weak point of the group. Not having a regular bass player, not having that in there. Robbie Krieger still plays around.
Yeah, I see him playing around. Yeah,
He was at the Write Off
I
room
was-
not too long ago.
very cool.
Yeah, it's.
Anyway, there was a guy named Douglas Lubin.
I saw you with Player open for, and I can't remember whether it was Linda Ronstadt, Little Feat, or Boz Scaggs, but you played William and Mary Hall, and you were the second of the 3 acts. And Baby Come Back was still a hit at the time, or you'd had a hit with it in the previous year. And you guys were great.
That was
But-
Boz Scaggs.
Somewhere
Boz
along
Scaggs.
the way, I actually saw Ron Moss in his original career. In his original career. And then,
Very
and
cool.
Then, met him, of course, years later at the Mint.
I have
Which
a
is
request.
true Ron Moss song, I said.
I have a request that I want to do for my friend Tiziano. He asked if I could play this song called "What to Do." It's an original song, and off my new album, "Surprise Trip Love." So I'm going to try this one here, and it's called "What to Do." I don't want to go to heaven. None of my friends are there. No news is good news. It's usually more than I can bear. And I know that she loves me. And I know that she tries. And I know that the obvious always makes her cry. What to do? What to do? I've seen more than my share of this. I've seen the dark side of day. After the sun sets and the moon rises, it'll be the only way. And they come to me in the blackness. They follow me into the light. They chip away at my resist. They tell me left is right. What to do? What to do? Follow the north, east, west, and south. We fall into distraction. We believe most spoken printed words. We're prone to overreaction. And the fight within me scares me. Leads me to the door. The faith takes hold, I find the light and the strength to fight some more. What to do? What to do? What to do? Yeah. What to do? What to do? Yeah. What to do? Siamo solo noi. Siamo solo noi. Siamo solo noi. Siamo solo noi.
Sweet. You know, I think it's amazing that you have this raging career. This is like your fourth career now. I mean, you know, you're
Exactly.
I just like just staying creative. It's just a process of wanting to be creative and being positive, to always keep positive about things. We're all bludgeoned with so much negativity in life that you have to keep that strong sense of positivo.
you're not just relentlessly positive, but then you effectuate what you do. This whole your new career, well, not your new career in Italy because you've been huge in Europe for years, but to continue to have a creative musical career and play the shows you play every summer, it's a gift, dude. It's really beautiful, and I won't tell people how old you are, but you're ageless at this point.
Exactly.
I think we're all ageless, aren't
I
we?
think I'm not going to give anything away, but he's just a couple of years behind Allison.
It's just a frickin' number. I
And that's
tell
all
people
it
that.
is. That is
Just
totally all
don't
it
worry
is.
about it. It's just a
It's how you
freaking
live.
number.
It's
Yes.
how you live, and plus, dude, there's nothing that's more the fountain of youth than getting up on stage and performing. I mean, it's timeless. It's incredible, and the fact that you're able to keep doing it and doing tours in front of large audiences, it's a blessing. It really is.
I've been able to do some wonderful, wonderful shows here in Italy the last couple of years, and we're expanding on all of that now. It's keep it because a lot of people know me as Ridge Forrester.
Right.
People know me for 25 years as that person, as that character, and they've brought me into their living rooms every day for 25 years. So I've been treated like a part of their family, which is so amazing here in Italy. It's
I'll
throughout.
never forget when we had lunch in Rome about 6 years ago, and we were in the Piazza Navona, and we couldn't get 2 bites down before someone would come up to you, approach you
Exactly.
including the restaurant owner, which was hysterical.
No.
We finally had to
We had to
retreat.
move.
We had to retreat to our hotel room. Remember, we had the bottle of wine on the top of the Hotel Raleigh, whatever the hotel that we were staying in at the time. But it's because America knows you as Ridge, but you're also known throughout Italy for Dancing with the Stars, right?
Yeah, I did the Ballando con le Stelle, the Dancing with the Stars.
I cannot remember the Italian version of that or what it was, but you
My
do the,
thanks. No,
Are
it's
you doing
it's
a show in
so
Belgium this
wonderful. Are we what?
Are you going to do the stage thing in Belgium this year?
We're not going to Belgium. It's one of the countries we're not going to. We're doing mainly Albania,
Wow.
Italy, all over Italy, and we're going to do possibly down in Sicilia. We have one in London. We have some other ones in possibly Malta. So we're going to be all over the place, but mostly again in Italy. But I've had such wonderful times here, being able to tour in Italy and some beautiful, beautiful in the square. In fact, I'm going to do another thing on Friday in the square in Fasano.
Wow.
But Tiziano wanted me to say that little Siamo Solo Noi is from a song that Vasco Rossi is one of the probably the most popular singer in Italy now,
Wow.
and for the last many years. And he'll come to Milano next week and do 5 sold out shows in the stadium. Wow. And then he's going to come to Puglia and do another 4 shows in the stadium in Puglia, and he'll sell them all out. 5 in a row, 4 in a row. And it's just amazing. And he actually lives in the neighborhood I grew up in, Los Feliz.
You're kidding.
He
Wow.
lives there half the year. I'm not going to say where,
He's like
but
you. He lives here in the winter and then tours Italy in the summer.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, just
Pretty
like
much,
you.
because people leave him alone in Hollywood. They don't really
Right.
know him. They're not familiar. But he's the biggest, literally the biggest music star in Italy.
Wow.
We're going to go see him this coming week.
That's fantastic.
I think I'm going to get a chance to meet him, which is going to be a big honor. But I love being here. It's so nice. It's just Italy
And
is.
you're still doing films, right?
Yeah. We've got a couple films on that we're in pre-production on that we're going to get them done. We're going to get them done. That's part of the plan
Fantastic.
too.
That's fantastic.
Keeping creative, Joel. Keeping
know,
creative.
That is.
You can't really retire. I mean, especially when you're an artist. You don't ever. I think Allison says, "Well, I'm kind of retired as a photographer." No, you're not. You're an artist. You're a photographer. We're still
No,
traveling.
you don't have to be. You don't have to
I'm
retire.
gonna write my book.
Huh?
You don't
Yeah,
have to
Allison's
retire.
working-
She's
No,
working on a book.
retiring- It makes no sense. Allison is working on a book on her. Working title is "My Life with Playboy and Rock and Roll," about her many years, her 37 years or 47 years with Playboy, and then all the rock stars that she was hanging with in the '80s, Tom Petty and Eric Clapton and George Harrison
Yeah,
and
it was a
You
great,
were
great
you were
life.
great friends with Tom, right? Tom Petty.
Tom and Jane were like my best friends. I was over there almost every day. Yeah,
throughout
they
the
were
'80s.
great.
When we first started dating, and she finally and took me over to Tom and Jane's, we used to spend every Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter with the Pettys. And Tom was just the sweetest guy. You know, I was a little shell shocked, but they were really wonderful people. Had this beautiful house in Encino, and then the last sort of year that they were together before they divorced, we would go over on Saturday nights and make dinner for them and hang out. One night, Jane was not feeling well; she was upstairs, and we had just seen The Wall from Berlin. The video had just come out. I said, "Oh, we got to show that to Tommy." So we went over, we made dinner. Jane went upstairs, went to bed. And Tom Petty and I and Allison sat there and watched the entire Wall live in Berlin. Smoked a joint, watched the thing, had a great in silence for like 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and then it ends, and we all just looked at each other like, "Oh my God, is that the greatest freaking concert you ever saw?" It was amazing.
Yeah, he was amazed.
We'd come over on Christmas. Well, here's a great story. I used to go home and see my parents every now and again. So one Christmas, I go home to see my parents, spend Christmas with my parents, and I call Allison, and she's up at the Petty's. She says, "Yeah, we're just starting Christmas dinner. George Harrison's here, and we're gonna watch the Beatles anthology with Rick Rubin and Tommy."
Rubin, yeah.
So they sat there when the Beatles anthology video first came out on Christmas Day. They sat there. She sat there with George Harrison and Tom Petty, watching.
It was cool.
This at the time, it was all this amazing footage. Before I met her, she was over at Tommy's with her old boyfriend, and Tommy's trying to talk to George Harrison, and Allison's there, and George just keeps staring at Allison. So Tommy finally goes, "George," and sticks his head in front of.
Yeah, what he did is he came around the back of me and put his head on my shoulder because
He's like, George, I'm
George."
trying to talk to you. And we figured out years, or maybe Allison figured it out at the time. We think George thought she looked just like Patty Boyd.
I used to wear
There you go. Yeah.
wear her hair part up and this part down. And that's the way I used to wear my hair. And so that's probably what he was looking at.
And the interesting thing is, I imagine Eric Clapton probably thought the same thing when he met her. Because there you go. You can't keep Patty Boyd out of the picture.
You could have had a good time that night, Allison.
I'm telling you, she had her friend was having a birthday party and was working for Richard Perry, the record producer at the time.
So we were going to go to this great restaurant, and it was all worked out so that my friend could be,
She had the hots for Eric. And
Yeah.
Eric's there, and unfortunately, she invited 2 other girls. So
Playmates, no less.
Playmates, no less. So all of a sudden, there's Eric, Richard Perry, and the other guy who was dating one of the other ones. So whereas Allison was supposed to be the beard for the other guy, so that Eric would think this other girl was the only available girl at the table, Eric's friend goes up to Leanne and says, "Eric really likes your friend." So it all went wrong for
And he
our
followed
friend.
me home.
So
He came home with me that night. And
and
the next morning, I had to take my friend to get her car because it was in the shop, right? So
and she was a little peeved. She was on the one hand, Eric Clapton's coming home with Allison, so she's thrilled. The other hand, she's not coming home with her. So he's not coming home with her, so she was a little peeved, and a little upset.
well, we were roommates, Leanne and I.
So the next day, they're driving to pick up her car, and there's a stony silence, and she leans over and says, "Well, don't you at least want to know how he was?"
I was trying
Joel.
to make her laugh.
So
Joe,
flash
let's try
forward-
something. Go ahead.
Flash forward a year and 2 months, Allison's phone rings.
And I'm living in a different place.
Different place. And she picks up the phone and says, "Hello, is this Allison Reynolds?" She says, "Yes, it's Eric." To which my version of the story is she goes, "Eric who?"
No, I didn't say that. I knew who it
But
was.
she knew who it was. Apparently, our good friend Damo, Eric was back in town and was looking for Allison. And he
Because
asked
my number had changed.
and he asked JMO, who was this major drum tech and did a lot of cartage for all the big artists here, do you know an Allison Reynolds? And he says, yeah, Allison's a good friend of mine. Oh, can I have a number? So he gives him the number. So they have a second date, and Eric comes over, and Allison makes him dinner. And in addition to the joy of having a second date with Eric, apparently he wanted her to have his baby.
Whoa.
And what Eric didn't realize,
I couldn't.
well, she'd had a hysterectomy, but what Eric didn't realize is Allison and her were the same age.
He and I were born the same year.
Yeah.
But he thought I was so much younger than him.
So
There you go.
It was wild.
it was a lovely thing.
Just
Yeah.
like the rest of us.
Exactly. So Allison,
Allison, you're still that 20-year-old kid.
I
You're still
call
that
her-
20-year-old kid.
Well, thanks.
I call her, since I put on Facebook yesterday. When I met her, she was my California college girl, hippie surfer beach chick, and she still is, and always will be. She's my timeless, beautiful
Thank you,
baby.
honey.
And
Thank you.
well, 35 years. We keep confusing people with all our anniversaries. Our first date was September 3rd, 1989. We'd met at the China Club a couple weeks earlier because I was going to see my friend Anthony Tomasino, who was road manager for Hall & Oates, but on that time he quit with Hall & Oates and he was taking Boris Grabishnikov around the country. Anthony was my best friend in New York. I didn't know he was Allison's best friend in LA. Allison's there on a date with Tony Kaye, the keyboard player from Yes. And I'm there. I'm Anthony's best friend in New York. She's Anthony's best friend in LA. She should naturally give me her number. We should stay in touch. She wouldn't give me her number. Flirting with her the whole night. She's finally, give me your number. I'm not going to give you
Well,
my
I had
number.
to shut him up, Well, just give
Exactly.
me your number.
Very special, lovely night. I figure I'm never going to see this chick again. 2 weeks later, 4 p.m, I'm waking up after a wild Saturday night in a house I was squatting in Los Feliz or in Silver Lake. Phone rings. It's Allison. Hey, do you want to go see Ringo Starr tonight? At the Greek. It was the first Ringo tour where it was Ringo, Levon Helm,
Amazing show.
Rick Danko, Clarence Clemens, Billy Preston, Joe Walsh on guitar, Nils Lofgren on guitar, and we get to the venue. She picks me up. We get to the venue. She says, I got the tickets to the passes. I always use this VIP parking. It's $20. You can pay for that, right? Well, I had $20 to my name. So I didn't say a word. I hand her the $20 bill, and I'm thinking, I hope this chick doesn't want a beer. When we get inside, she has backstage passes. So 5 minutes later, we're backstage.
I had a laminate.
We're backstage with Ringo. I'm looking around the room. There's the drummer from Cream, Ginger Baker. There's Joe Walsh. There's it's rock and roll stardom heaven back there, and of course
And
free beer.
free beer.
And we get out to our seats. We're in the 7th row, and Fred Dreyer is sitting next to us, and Vanna White's sitting next to us, and they both know Allison. By the way, we saw Fred last night at dinner, and he was looking great.
Yeah.
We have this amazing first night. I'm back at her apartment the next day, and I'm like, well, what do you want to do tonight? She says, well, I got tickets, so I wasn't going to go. I says, fuck yeah, of course we're going to go.
We went again.
So we went to see, our first date was 3 days. We go to see Ringo twice. The second night, they're closing out, right? So the show ends. We're going backstage. We're at the backstage door, and they're not letting anybody in because they're loading out. Jack Nicholson's in front of us. Tom Petty and his wife are behind us, and they both know Allison. I'm thinking, who is this chick?
And I saved everyone because I had a laminate.
She had a laminate, so she flashes the laminate at the guy.
And the guy goes, who's with you? And I went, pointed to everybody, and we all went in.
So that was our first date. Was 3 nights.
And
with Ringo.
I think he was wow.
No, it was quite a nice.
Who is this chick?
It was an amazing time, and then she drops me off in Silver Lake on the midday of the 3rd day, and drives off into the distance, and that was our first date. Together 35 years. Oh,
Sing it.
Gotta find the right
She's a
key.
good girl, loves her mama, loves Jesus, and America too. She's a good girl, crazy about Elvis, loves horses, and her boyfriend too. Right to the chorus.
And
I'm free, free falling. Yeah, I'm free, free falling. For you. You guys, this has been wonderful.
God bless you, Ron.
I wish we could
adore
play
you.
together.
We love Kevin.
Yes, please give your
We
wife
love you guys,
a big
too.
hug and kiss for us.
I do all the time. We love you guys.
And don't forget the Ronachino every morning.
She gets a Ronachino every morning.
That's
For those
amazing.
of who haven't experienced why we do that, I make my wife literally a cappuccino, a Ronachino, with coconut milk every morning to start her day because it puts a smile on her face. So
Hey, Doug, true love never dies. You and Devin are soulmates. It's like Allison and I. And the most important thing in life is having someone you love and adore that shares your life with you. That is playing
absolutely,
music live.
that playing music live. Thank you guys. We love,
We love
you.
you.
Happy birthday, Allison.
Thank you
Grazie
so much.
mille.
Grazie mille, and
Grazie mille.
enjoy the whiskey go-go tonight. Have fun with the Doors.
And don't forget my world debut at the Troubadour on Wednesday. And my final
There we
performance.
go. You guys are awesome. Thanks for joining us. We will talk to you soon. Keep in touch and let us know if you come back to Europe.
We will see you in Puglia.
Definitely.
Puglia.
Maybe so. Puglia. Maybe so.
Puglia.
I have a feeling we probably will. Love you guys.
Love
Ciao,
you too,
ciao.
Ron.
You guys too.
Bye. Oh, what a these guys are amazing, these two. Just amazing. Thank you all for joining us. We are at the end of here. I have something I want to do at the end, just to keep a positive vibe. It's something I found that really, I really enjoyed it. I'm hoping you'll enjoy it as much as I did. But thank you all. Please share, and all, so we can get the word out. I will be doing the next couple weeks, but I just wanted to warn you that after, I don't have the dates all in front of me. I should have that. I'll have that next week. There'll be a couple of weeks that I'm going to have to skip because I have to be performing on those Sunday evenings. I have either traveling or performing. So I'll let you know ahead of time, but looks pretty good for the next few weeks. We're good. I thank Joel Berlinger and Allison Reynolds for joining us. They are true spirits and wonderful, amazing people. So this is what I wanted to play, that for anybody that's feeling like you're under pressure and you're overwhelmed by stuff and you just have to put your head down and go for it and keep positive. Do things that make you feel positive, even if you have to give yourself a suggestion. You wake up in the morning, you're not feeling quite right in its flow of things. Just give yourself the suggestion that everything is freaking great. You're feeling great, you're healthy and all. And your body hears, your mind hears that suggestion. And your body responds to what you tell it. If you tell it you're not feeling great, your body hears that. It's like you hear, your subconscious hears everything. So I'm trying to keep everybody real positive in the world and thinking like, just watch this little thing I found. This kind of sums it up for me. So I love it. Here we go. Let's see, I have to add this here. It's a from Instagram, so it won't be as big. I can't make it any bigger, but I think you'll get the gist of it. Let me go back to it here and start it. And here we go. And make sure you read it.
In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone. Neath the halo of a street lamp, I turned my collar to the cold and damp. When my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence. And in the naked light, 10,000 people maybe, people talking without speaking, people hearing without listening, people writing songs that voices never share, and no one dared disturb the sound of silence. Fool said you do not know. Silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words that I might teach you. Play my love that I might reach you. But my words, like silent raindrops fell and echoed in the wells of silence.
There we go. All right. And thank you all again. I love you all. Join us next week. We have some very special guests coming. I'm not going to tell you yet. I love you all. Have a great week. And I send you blessings and love.